Hello, David Zritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. Okay, I thought I would weigh in here. There's been a few articles that we've all read lately and a lot of reaction to them. And of course, it's from the producers of the Bond franchise, Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. And it initially started with a conversation with Variety where they were talking about the search for the next Bond. And as soon as we hear search for the next Bond, everybody's ears, they perk up. They listen, they drop what they're doing, the baby's put down onto the bed. We've got to pay attention to what they're saying. And if we pay attention to what they're saying, they said quite a bit in this article. I mean, I'll fully admit. They said things like it was still going to be a few years. They talked about Idris once again and basically gave him an official send-off saying that was then, this is now. They mentioned that Bond is a commitment of 10 to 12 years, which is that news to us? I don't think it was. I mean, it's probably a 2 to 3 picture deal. If you think about 10 to 12 years, let's hope it's 3 pictures, right? In that 12 years. But I mean, none of that was really a surprise to us. I think what we did get a little bit of, kind of that holding your breath moment and kind of analyzing it and rereading it and turning it upside down and reading other articles was the whole idea of this sensitive Bond, that, Bond was going to be more a part of an emotional arc, that he was going to be more in touch, and who's evolving quicker, men in 2022 or Bond. And the reality is that I think you got to step back and really look at the words, look at the quotes and not the interpretation. For example, The Telegraph took the Variety article and they interpreted it. And they said all these things about overly sensitive, and they blew it up and they exaggerated, and they took the quote and they pulled it like taffy. So you got to be really careful with these things about interpretation. And then what happened was people took the article from The Telegraph, which was about the article in Variety, and they said, well, this is the quote. This is what she said. This is the direction they're going in. And I think you got to roll it back a little bit. Now, listen, mea culpa. This is not a video about me saying, everybody relax. I'm sure it's going to be the good old Roger Moore days. No, I think those days are gone. And if you want a Roger Moore James Bond movie or a Sean Connery James Bond movie, we have those movies. It's the 60th anniversary. We can celebrate by watching those either in the theater or in your home. It's all there. It's all there. And I do to get that nostalgic little bump. But we're not going to stop the engine of James Bond. Now, here is my point of view. That was that. Here's my point of view. I think of Bond like my wife's stew. Danielle makes the most incredible stew. When it gets a little cold like it's getting now, little autumn, little winter, little chill in the air, she makes a big pot of stew, and she starts out with, big cubes of delicious like brisket and meat. And to me, the meat of the James Bond movie is who James Bond is. He is this cold, calculating spy assassin, a little bit of a rogue, if you will, an anti-hero. He's got more vices than he does positive things, but he's got this dedication to king, I said it right, king and country. He's got a great duty to his job and what he's doing. And in the end, he's heroic, right? That's the meat of James Bond. A lot of it comes from Fleming. A lot of it comes from the movies for me about what he is and the movies that I truly enjoy. The meat is this heroic escapism where we want to be like James Bond for a little while. We just want to kind of remove ourselves from who we are for a moment and escape, not be in the real world. Okay. The potatoes in the stew are all the wonderful tropes. They're the gadgets, the guns. They are the Bond girls. There's the quippy lines. There's the villain and the henchman and layers. That's the potatoes. So now you've got the meat and you've got the potatoes. And then you've got these wonderful like vegetables that go in there. The vegetables are necessary, right? You need your vegetables. So the vegetables are all of the allies, the Q and the Moneypenny and the M and, Tanner and all these people, the good guy / bad guys that help Bond in his mission. Those are the wonderful vegetables, and they add so much variety and color to everything that they do. Okay. Then you've got the sauce. The sauce is so important. Without it, you got meat and potatoes and vegetables, and that doesn't really create anything other than a mess. The sauce and the roux and everything like that, what that does is it binds everything together. That's the story. You need a really great story to bind it all together. So you taste the story in every bite that you have. At the end, you've got to do like Salt Bae. You got to sprinkle a little bit of spice, a little bit of salt into that for taste. To me, that's the emotional side of Bond. I think we've actually had emotional moments with Connery. We've had definitely Roger Moore with, looking back on his wife. We've had it when friends and allies are killed and he goes for revenge. We've had him with George Lazenby. My gosh, his wife dies at the end, that big emotional moment. Timothy Dalton, that smoldering kind of emotional connection. And Sharky, don't forget Sharky. Nobody, please, don't forget Sharky. Pierce Brosnan brought a bunch of emotional connection, both in Revenge, Disconnect. I mean, The World Is Not Enough. Hello, everybody. And then, yes, you had the bolus dose of Daniel Craig bringing an emotional arc, although I would say in the first two movies, not as much. Skyfall, they ramped it up with his connection to M. And then Spectre, they kind of pushed it. And then No Time to Die, it was full-gunned, sensitive, emotional, dad, Bond, right? They're a little doo-doo. But, I like the sensitive, emotional connection to Bond to be a sprinkle. I don't want it to overtake that sauce and roux. I don't, because then it tastes too salty. It's too much spice. I can't, no, too much salt, bad for you, bad for your cholesterol. And it overpowers the taste of everything else. And so I don't want too much of the sensitive, emotional Bond. But if you're going to make Bond a little bit more realistic, that's fine. He's got human emotions. Maybe he's killed somebody in an assassination or something like that, or maybe he's doing a job for the government, for His Majesty's government. It's going to take a little bit to get used to that. And maybe there is something about it that just leaves a bad taste in his mouth. That's a real emotional reaction to doing your job. We all have that. But if it serves the storyline, that's great. And I think that the producers of the Bond movie, although don't forget, folks, they know this is going in variety. They know we're going to be talking about this. I think that they're going to do spice as opposed to dumping sensitivity and emotional. I do not think they're going to, some people are going to say, is Daddy Bond going to continue? Is he going to go and spy, assassinate, and then come home, throw his hat and say, honey, I'm home, where's the hamburger helper? And the little kids run into his arms, Jenna and James Jr., and mwah, mwah, and let's watch Bob the Builder. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. They know what they're doing. I've got a lot of confidence in what they're doing, and I'm also kind of pleading at the same time. Like, I do desperately want to have a fun, almost frivolous Bond. I hate to use the M word. What's the M word? Mallory? No. Maverick. I hate to use the Maverick word, but Maverick showed what audiences truly want, which is just a fun movie where there's heroic moments, people connecting, by the way, both genders, strong women, strong men, nothing batting you over the head. Both, which I would argue the Bond films have had strong women throughout the entire process. Every time I hear that Bond is evolving to have stronger roles for women, I would say look back historically, or maybe I'm just flying the flag of the Bond franchise, but I think that they've always been, in point of time in history, very strong women. You're talking about the 1960s, people. And if you look at the 1960s movies with 2022 eyes, you're going to have an issue. You're going to put it through the wrong filter. Put yourself in the 1960s realm of how women were treated in the movies, and you'll see that the Bond franchise, they knew what they were doing, and I think that they lifted women up on a pedestal in many cases. Yes, you have these moments. That was Bond, but that's not the Bond of today. And so This is a little bit of a video about hope and reaction to what we've seen. I'm going to remain calm. We've got arguably years until we know what this bond is going to be like, until we see it in the theater, probably 3 years. So we got to roll it back. We don't want to be the old man yelling at the cloud because the rain is coming. The rain's going to come anyway. And instead, what we can do is focus on the positive, each other, the Bond community. We've got 25 films, 26 if you count the other ones, that we can kind of gravitate to and connect to. Look, you're feeling nostalgic? You want Bond without a lot of emotions in it? You know which ones to watch. Quantum of Solace? See, you don't have to go back to the 60s. But trust me, there's opportunity to do that. I would take anything, any of the public relations or the public speak with a grain of salt, but only a grain of salt. Not too much salt. All right, that's my 2 cents about this whole thing. Anyway, hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing great. And David Zaritsky from the Bond Experience will speak to you real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.